So for the person who's out there currently in their PM job hunt, this one's for you. Last week I went to a volunteering slash networking session hosted at Microsoft, and I got a chance to speak with some recent Emory grads about, just my journey in tech so far. And one of the questions one of the guys asked me was, how should I approach my job hunt today? I'm like, as I was answering this question, I'm literally like, yeah, I gotta cook this up for the other viewers who are out there who would need some guidance or an approach to how to go about their job hunt today. So first things first, you're gonna need to adjust your mindset. And when I say that, it's ultimately like you need to believe in yourself along this journey, and you cannot count yourself out. No matter how many applications you've already filled out, no matter how many rejection notices you probably already have, understand and trust the process that each no that you get is getting you closer to that yes. As a person who did get many no's, especially from Microsoft, the current company I worked for before, it didn't stop me from knowing that, hey, I know I'm a good fit for Microsoft, I just wasn't a good fit for that role that I applied for at first, So I would definitely challenge you to, one, it starts with the mindset. You have to believe in yourself, and you cannot count yourself out. You just never know what a team is hiring for or what a team is looking for. And you just never know. You could be amongst a group of applicants, you guys could all have the similar skill sets, and in that interview that you have, you may be the perfect fit for the team that hiring manager is looking for. So never count yourself out, and you have to believe in yourself along this journey. It could be short for you or it could be long, but you have to make that decision that, hey, I'm going to become a PM. And once you say it, I really believe that there's power in the words that you say, and that writing it makes it real, and that you become what you think about. And that one's from Earl Nightingale. You become what you think about. So if you're thinking about becoming a PM, it's only a matter of time before what you think is your reality. Okay? Believe in yourself. Next thing I'll say, you're going to want to clarify the discipline that you want to work in. So yes, I want to be a PM, but where? For me, I had an interest in web development in that space. And you're going to want to do your research to see, hey, where are the different roles or disciplines or areas of work that I can go be a PM in. And that's going to help you find connections between what your current experiences are and your current skill set is versus what those job descriptions are within that discipline. So that's going to be key as well. You're going to want to be clear on where do you want to be a PM in to help narrow down the job applications that you do submit and or search for. So I really think it's important to go for something that you at least have an interest in, because you don't want to just be in it for the money. Yes, we all know PMs get paid, depending on the company you're at, good, I'll say. However, it's not always about the money. You really want to understand what is the skill set that I'm truly after, and how am I gonna get there essentially. So you want to find some connections between your current experiences and the role that you want to go for, or the discipline area that you want to be a PM in. And you might ask, how would I find those connections between my current experiences and what these job descriptions are asking for and the responsibilities and whatnot? And this is where I think ChatGPT is your friend, because if you can't articulate that or think of those connections yourself, simply, hey, ChatGPT, I have these current roles and experience. You can literally copy and paste it from your resume if you wanted to, and then get the roles and responsibility section from the job description that you're going for, and literally say, hey, help me find the connections between my current experiences and these roles. And what I think what that would do is at least get your mind thinking of oh wow, maybe this sales experience can translate to PM in some way, or my background in physics or science or finance or HR or healthcare. It will help you find those connections that you may not have thought of on yourself, and ultimately what that would do is help you define your story. And I really think that, and that's my next point, once you're kind of clear on all right, I believe that I can be a PM, one. Two, I know the area that I want to apply PM in. For me, that was web development. Cool. I looked up some job descriptions in web development PM or like UX PM kind of positions or whatever that role or discipline may be for you. And now it's like, okay, I am starting to see how I do have some skills that can transfer to this role, right? And then now that you start to do that, now is when you do that self-digging and understand like, okay, how am I gonna approach this? People love stories, stories. In that interview that you may have one day, or you will have one day, I'll say, what is gonna be your story? For me, I know I didn't have the technical background. However, I did feel strongly about my soft skills, so that's my story in that, hey, regardless of what problems may be thrown at me, and that came from like the physics background, it's like, regardless of what problems are thrown at me, I know I have the ability. I believe in myself. I have that ability to solve it. I can put together the resources. I can make the connections with people. I'll know how to get to step A, and step A will get me to step B, and step B will get me to step C. However, so whatever that is for you, you want to define what your story and your angle will be when you go into these interviews. All right, so now back to let me take a little break. Your boy's parched. All right, so now you want to tailor your resume for those different job descriptions. Now, one thing I will say, and you probably have heard this before, is yes, you can't just have one general resume that you apply to many different roles out here. That's not how it's going to work, and you have to understand why. The reason why is these companies or hiring managers or teams are looking for a person to help them solve their problems. So, although a job description may not have it clearly articulated, hey, these are the problems we're trying to solve on my team, but you should be able to kind of look at the roles and responsibilities of the job description and be able to kind of see like, hey, what are they ultimately looking for, or what are the potential problems that this team may have? And that also could be a direct question you ask in your interview, but that's a side note. But ultimately what I'm saying is you want to tailor your resume to these job descriptions that you're going for. And yes, it may take some more time. You may not feel like, hey, I've already submitted 30 applications. I don't want to go revamp this one in order to just apply to one role. I'm sad to tell you, but that's what it's gonna take. And if you're not willing to do that, I'm sorry, there is somebody who is, and odds are, if their resume is connecting more with those points within the job description than you are, you will be overlooked. So if you really decide to say you want to be a PM, you have to be willing to put the work in that a PM would be expected to do. Okay, so I'm not gonna play soft with y'all here, because I'm serious about your success. And this is what I had to do. I did try the general resume route and it didn't work for me. Please skip that step. You don't have to go through it. Craft your resume for the specific role you want to go after. And what would help decrease the workload for you is being clear with what? The discipline you want to work in. Because I'm not just applying to every PM role that I see. I'm clear with the area that I want to work in, and I'm going to look for jobs within that area, so I only have to maybe tweak one or two things on each resume that I submit, okay? So, let me slow down a bit. So next thing you want to do is you're going to want to connect with PMs or recruiters that are in that space. And I think for me and my journey, that was key. Like I said, I got a lot of no's trying to just do it myself, thinking I had all the skills or had all the interview tips possible. But there's nothing like getting that first-hand experience, or getting it from somebody who's already done it, who's already in it, who may have even been interviewing other people as well. So along my journey, I got a chance to, meet with a PM who was in the space that I work in, and literally got to probe questions about how should I approach the interview, get some feedback on the resume that I was planning on submitting, and doing all of that, So I really think that's going to be key as well, because, there's nothing like that insight from somebody who's already in it. And please use me as a resource. You can always reach out to me on LinkedIn if you want to set some time up, have some questions, or reach out book us some time on my website. Like, I'm happy to help you in this space, in this season. This is what I like want to do. So there you go. So reach out to some people, whether it's recruiters or other PMs within the space or other areas, depending on like the area or role you're going after. This is for the PMs, but like I said, all the principles I'm mentioning here could apply to other roles. So you want to reach out to people in the space, not just one, not just two, as many as you can, whether it's a networking session and you're talking with some folks, whether it's like, hey, reaching out to someone directly on LinkedIn. Like nowadays, people are willing to help. And it goes back to my first point that you can't count yourself out. You miss 100% of the shots that you don't take, so if you're going to be shooting, shoot, and hey, what's the worst thing they can say? No. And if not them, then hey, do you know anybody else that, should connect with? And I think that's going to be important as well. So next thing is now you're going to want to apply. So, you got your resume together. You're clear on the roles that you want to apply for. You got your resume tailored to these roles. Now apply. This is when you get that application in, because understand that no movement's going to happen unless you submit an application. And then what you want to do is follow up by reaching out to those recruiters or any recruiters that you may know about this role. Now, one little thing I learned recently is that just because a recruiter, say for example, works at Microsoft, recruiters have certain job requisitions or roles that they're hiring for. So not every recruiter has access to every open role that may be on a career site. But don't let that discourage you in that, hey, say for example, I just applied to this role. I reached out to this recruiter who I saw on LinkedIn, and they're like, hey, I don't actually hire for these roles. However, that doesn't mean you don't follow up by asking, hey, could you connect me with a recruiter who is hiring for that roles? And more than likely, that recruiter is willing to do that gesture for you of making that connection. And then, hey, once you have another name, you reach out to another person. And if that recruiter doesn't even respond to your initial message, reach out to another one, and that's where it's like, you're going to have to be relentless in this thing. Like I said, if you decide you want to be a PM, you have to understand, you got to be willing to do what you need to do by any means necessary type of attitude towards this. And for me, the situation I was in before getting my role, it was by any means necessary. I was going to do whatever call, whatever email, whatever message I had to send, I was going to send it because I was that desperate, desperate is the word. Yes. I was hungry for it. And, you got to be hungry for it ultimately, and just trust God's got you, and if it's in his will, that recruiter will reach back out and make that connection for you, so I'll digress there. Let me get another sip. So boom, you applied, you reached out, now these recruiters are aware that you applied, and at that point, that's where it's kind of hands off, it's either these recruiters or hiring manager are going to reach back out to you, or they're not, or they may reach out to you and say, hey, we're going to bring you in for an interview, and that's the ideal. But if they don't, it's ultimately what you're going to have to do is rinse and repeat. Go back to the new role that you're looking for, tailor that resume, and do it all over again. And ultimately, I understand that it could feel tiring. It could feel depressing, Maybe you're in a situation where you need some income coming in, but I understand, but you cannot approach this with that scarcity mindset. You have to trust that ultimately you're not in this alone. God has the ultimate plan for you, and that, this journey is going to be your journey. And when you do get that role, when you do get that interview, and you do land that role, just think of everything that you'll be more appreciative of because you went through that process of getting it. Like I said, I haven't met one person working in tech or one PM that hasn't gotten a no on an interview or, a role that they applied for before. I don't know anyone that's perfect at getting this. I'm not one, and I'm not trying to preach like I'm one, but it is ultimately there is an approach, and you have to be willing to do certain things along this journey because ultimately it's helping you as a person. Every time you interview and you get a no, ultimately what it's doing is helping you articulate your experiences for the role better. And I really think, like I said in my last video, it's about getting those reps in. Like, reps is what's going to help you gain the confidence. And each time you get a no, yes, it's going to feel like a gut. Ugh. But what you'll learn from that, if you're able to put on that lens of like, I'm not going to just dwell in the fact that they told me no. What did I do well? Always reflect on those things, like what did you do well and how could you improve for the next one? Because if you really believe that the next interview is coming, it will come. And if you're willing to put the work in for yourself to be able to land that next interview, it'll happen for you. All right. So, and then the last point I'll leave you with is, like, when applying for these roles, understand that you're not just applying for the role itself, but you ultimately are applying for the company. In my journey, like, I went through 5 interviews, 1 30-minute, 4 1-hour interviews, ultimately for them to tell me, hey, they chose someone else within the company. However, my performance in those 5 interviews, I got yeses from all my interviews there, ultimately was like, hey, this other hiring manager on another UX team is willing to talk to you, for the first time, and that ultimately, that hiring manager ended up giving me that yes, so just because you maybe did not perform well for one role doesn't mean you didn't perform well for another given role. And that's where it's like, goes back to my first point again, you cannot count yourself out. You have the unique skills and the unique experiences that a team can value from, and you can contribute to some team positively, and you just have to believe that in God's will, He will connect you with the role that is meant for you. And understand that, you also have to be realistic with where you are. If you don't have that background in PM, or you don't have that much experiences, to be able to, clearly make these connections between what they're asking for in a job description and whatnot, maybe it's about, hey, I can't go after those big tech companies just yet. Maybe I have to do an internship or be an apprentice PM or be an associate PM. It was like a very entry-level PMs, and use that experience to land me that role at X company, And I think for me, like, I did have to do an internship at Dell in order to, for one, spark the belief within myself that I could be a PM at Microsoft, And Dell, I did my internship there, and I didn't even get the return offer. Other students are like, hey, boom, end the summer out, they got me, they telling me I got it. And ultimately what I said that summer was, hey, I'm going to leverage this opportunity and I'm going to land a job at Microsoft. You become what you think about, Life and death is in the power of the tongue. So it's like, hey, the words you speak are powerful. So if you keep speaking over your life that, hey, you're not good enough and, you're never going to get it, then you probably won't. But if you change that mindset to say, hey, I can do this, I will get this job. It may not happen in the timing that I want to, but I trust that if this is what God has for me, I trust that His process and He will get me there, as long as I do my part. You got to do your work and He'll handle the rest. Control what's in your circle of influence, and then let Him handle the rest that's out of your influence. And I think how you prep your resume, how you continue to practice interviewing skills, doing mock interviews, how you research the area and become how do I put it? You want to become engulfed in the area. I'm talking about in it. And I think one of the key books that I read was How to Crack the PM Interview. Please, if you don't, the PDF is out there. Matter of fact, I'll drop the link to that PDF in the description for you. And I think that book helped me even understand how to even craft my responses for an interview. That you may not even know that these interviewers are looking for a structured response. Even Google, if you go on their career site, they have how you should even craft your experience statements on your resume. And I think those are key to take, not only just for applying for Google, but use that framework that they provide and put it on your resume to apply for whatever role you want to go for. And ultimately what it's going to help you do is speak to your experiences in the best way possible, you know? So, I think that's about it, you know? The one thing I'll leave you with again is that it starts with you. You have to believe in you. You have to have that confidence that I don't care what, I don't care who else is applying. I don't care what experiences they got. I am ready for this role. I am ready for this career. And I know I have the unique skills that, God will make sure it connects me to the right team that's for me, So I really hope this helps you. Please let's continue this conversation in the comments. And if you like this video, please, you know what to do. But what I need more is like your feedback, the questions that you have so I can better serve you guys. So thank you for your time today, and I hope you guys have a good one. I'll catch you in the next one.